Other than quick and related synergies, something I was expecting Kirara to do well since early beta days was for her to be a very good unit to slot in a double Dendro double Hydro Nilou team. The principle is simple. Her application has great front-loaded properties, thanks to her elemental burst that can potentially apply 3 gauge units of Dendro instantly, and to an elemental skill she can also use simultaneously. This allows her to produce a lot of Dendro application you can take advantage of to immediately deal loads of damage to opponents. Granted, you have great Hydro appliers like Kokomi, Yelan and Shincho in the second Hydro slot of the team. On top of that, she comes with a pretty sturdy shield, which is more effective against Dendro-related damage, so it's technically 250% more durable against all the Bloom recoil hits. Right off the bat, with a premise like this, it's easy to highlight how she should be built on Nilou teams. Since most of her application is front-loaded, she won't trigger many blooms herself, as basically all of the Dendro shield generate will count as a lasting aura that the Hydro units will take advantage of later. At the same time, you want her shield to be as durable as possible because of all the self-inflicted damage Nilou teams unfortunately suffer from. Basically, you should not invest on Elemental Mastery with Kirara, but rather HP percent. Attack builds are also not very beneficial, since their damage potential is not on the same level as units like Collie. Playstyle-wise, there are important distinctions to make based on her Constellation level. At Constellation 0, she will apply almost all of her Dendro in a quick burst, and then just 1 or 2 more times throughout the rotation when her elemental skill cooldown ends. Technically, her burst also has upside in terms of a continuous application, since it scatters bombs all over the floor that might also end up exploding seconds later, backloading her application a bit. But for the most part, the logical assumption to make from a team setup standpoint is that she won't. The implication is that this kind of forces you to run Nahida on field for a big chunk of the rotation, since you need her auto attacks application to consistently enable Bloom reactions and consequently enable her elemental skill timely attacks as well. Basically, at Constellation 0, running great off-field Hydro appliers like Shincho and Yelan is probably more efficient than slotting in units that thrive through on-field application like Kokomi. This might be an issue from a durability standpoint, because a unit like Kokomi does a great job at making the team immortal, something that's not ensured through Kirara's shields alone unless she has a very good HP build and she's high talent level. Conversely, since at Constellation 4 she gets a consistent source of Dendro application, which should make her inflict 3 more gauge units of Dendro at minimum throughout the rotation, then the scenario where you are smoothly able to use an on-field Hydro applier becomes much more consistent. While I believe this to be the best case scenario for Nilou teams, since Kokomi in particular has more upside in AoE than units like Shinjo or Yelan, I've mostly used Kirara at Constellation 0, and the team felt very good, so don't be scared if you've not been able to get that many copies of her. From a build standpoint, aside from the obvious HP pieces I already talked about, a good pick for her set-wise is Instructor. The reason is that since Nahida is already going to be holding the Deepwood set, that becomes the only option for Kirara on the team. The extra elemental mastery Kirara will be able to provide in the best case scenario through that is around a 4% damage increase for the Bloom damage dealt by the team, so that's pretty good. The kicker is that she'll have to proc an on-field reaction to enable an Instructor set effect, and that's not a given considering that in double Dendro Nilou teams, opponents will have a Dendro aura on them on most of the time, meaning any further application Kirara will generate will just reinforce that aura instead of triggering a reaction. Basically, Instructor can be a good choice, but don't stress it. You can go for HP set pieces to increase her shield durability instead, something that is probably more consistently useful than Instructor. Weapons-wise, she can really hold whatever. She's not going to proc reactions for the most part, so elemental mastery choices are not important. The only HP weapon is Key of Kajnishat, but that's clearly going on Nilou if you have it, and the team has no particular energy issues, so options like Favonius or Xyphos are not needed. I would say the best option is Sacrificial, since it can reset her elemental skill usage and allow her to be more consistent in all scenarios. All in all, Kirara is a flexible flexible unit and a very strong pick for Nilou teams, thanks to her skills producing resourceful application while also having low cooldowns, and a defensive utility that will always come in handy for blue. I'm done for today. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time!